You wanted a job that blends science, art, and the kind of mystery that looks great in candlelight. You bought the robe, the rings, the slightly concerning collection of bottles labeled in handwriting that screams no refunds. Congratulations, you are a medieval alchemist, part pharmacist, part pyromaniac, part motivational speaker for metals. Your CV is impeccable if the hiring manager is a horoscope. You list skills like transmutation, philosopher's stone development, and enthusiastic distillation, which means you once boiled wine until it had ambitions. Patrons love you because you promise a future where lead apologizes and turns to gold. Physicians hate you because your lab smells like the afterlife. The church side-eyes you because anything called the elixir of life competes awkwardly with their main product. You assure everyone you're merely pursuing knowledge, which is true if you define knowledge as persistent curiosity with frequent shrapnel. Your workspace is a room that would give a fire marshal a personal journey. There's a furnace, the athanor, because Latin prevents lawsuits, a nest of glassware shaped like dreams that burst, and shelves of powders whose labels translate to maybe don't. Sulfur, mercury, salt, your holy trinity. Charcoal for heat, vinegar for regret, quicksilver for personality. On the wall hangs a chart of symbols designed to make outsiders feel mortal. Circles with tails, triangles with hats, squiggles that could be planets or recipes for soup. You keep a cat because every alchemist does. The cat judges you in iambic pentameter and sheds on the manuscripts. Step 1 of your daily workflow, calcination. Put a thing in fire to see what it wants to be when it grows up. Step 2, solution. Dissolve the ashes in something that formerly cleaned floors. Step 3, coagulation. Re-solidify it, preferably into wisdom, or at least a paste that glows menacingly. Repeat 9 more occult verbs, sublimation, fermentation, exaltation, until either enlightenment occurs or the ceiling develops a commemorative stain. It is essentially stewing with a spiritual thesis. You keep a lab notebook, but not the kind that could ruin you in court. Recipes are written in code. Marry the red dragon to the white queen under the sign of Jupiter. Translation: heat cinnabar with salt while acting confident. Diagrams show a man with the sun for a face doing unspeakable things to a bottle. You insist the secrecy is necessary to keep frauds away, and also because the last time you wrote "add a pinch of arsenic," a noble tried it at home, for fun. Patronage is your oxygen. A duke hears you can multiply wealth and invites you to move into a tower that already has bats. "Make me gold," he says, handing you a purse that jingles like future disappointment. You grin, nod wisely, and ask for equipment. Copper retorts, glass cucurbits, bellows, a better furnace, a second better furnace, a third to replace the second, and a fourth for when inspiration meets wood. The Duke pays because hope is lighter than coin. You pay him back in smoke shaped like confidence. Do you believe you can turn lead into gold? Some days you do. Metals feel like people. Lead is the peasant, dull, patient, sturdy. Silver is the courtier, bright, malleable, reflective. Gold is the king, impervious, incorruptible, rumored to have opinions. Surely you think, this is a ladder, not a wall. If we cleanse matter of its rough moods, it will climb. The philosopher's stone is your graduation certificate, rumored to be red, glowing, and extremely hireable. Your critics call this wishful metallurgy. You call it materials science with better outfits. Meanwhile, the market for potions is robust. You sell elixirs for digestion, sleep, melancholy, kidney gravel, and excess of Saturn, which translates to a mood. Some medicines help because vinegar is not entirely stupid, and alcohol is, medically speaking, a diplomat. Other remedies help because patients enjoy swallowing hope more than not swallowing anything. When miracles fail, you pivot. Ah yes, the medicine is working internally and will reveal results at a spiritually appropriate time. This is called managing expectations, a discipline later adopted by governments. Rivals? Everywhere. Apothecaries sell real herbs with real prices and real skepticism. Monks brew tonics while pretending not to enjoy it. Traveling quacks shout about universal solvents and teeth with futures. You distinguish yourself with branding. Your robe has constellations on it. Your sign features a serpent eating its own tail, recycling but classy. Your slogan, if you had invented slogans, is from base to noble. Your cat approves. The cat approves of anything not requiring effort. Let's take you through a typical week on the alchemical grind. Monday. The Duke wants an update. You present a vial of something red that looks like a positive attitude. Preliminary stone, you whisper. Proto-stone. Stone in rehearsal. The Duke swirls it, frowns, asks whether it can pay the army. You explain the army would become enlightened, which is better than paid. He suggests enlightenment plus coin. You return to the lab with a purse and a deadline whose edges smell like panic. Tuesday, distillation day. You arrange a glass serpent, the alembic, over a boiling bath of wine cut with herbs and litigation. Vapors rise, condense, and drip into the receiver like new ideas. You collect a spirit as clear as rumor and as flammable as truth. You taste it purely for research, and suddenly the day seems solvable. The cat makes a note in your ledger. Alchemist believes in God again. Wednesday, mercury, the metal that flows like a decision and shines like an apology. You call it quicksilver because Latin for do not touch is less persuasive than it should be. You gild copper with it, lovely, and then watch it flake off overnight, less lovely. You mutter about purification, cycles of nature, the soul of metals seeking perfection. Your assistant mutters about gloves. You both survive, which counts as a result. Thursday, consultation hours. People bring problems that are either medical, financial, or romantic, dressed as medical. A merchant wants an amulet to protect his ships. You sell him a talisman and the concept of redundancy. A lady aches with grief. You prepare a cordial of poppy and kindness, and then go home and write down nothing because your codebook has no symbol for talked about it. A monk arrives with questions so theological they could ignite. You redirect him to the furnace and he leaves sootier and calmer.
Friday. Experiments go boom in new and interesting timbres. The window rattles. The cat speaks a brief sentence in Latin, and your assistant updates the no eyebrows tally. You conclude that the proportion of sulfur to saltpeter was overambitious, and that discovery is mostly a polite argument with fire. You also conclude that the ceiling is load-bearing but forgiving. Saturday. Triumph. You produce a nugget of something gold-colored using what scholars will later call cheating.
It is gold leaf so lovingly applied to a lead bead that even your conscience has to squint. You consider showing it to the Duke, then consider living. You lock it in a cabinet marked Demonstrations, Morale. In your notebook you write, Transmutation approached symbolically, which is both true and hireable. Sunday. Rest, which is to say paperwork. You copy yesterday's notes into a clean book using your second-best handwriting. You draw a figure of a king marrying a queen under a sun, meaning you combined sulfur and mercury, and the sun was algebra. You sketch your cat, label it primum felonum, and decide not to share that page with the academy. The social scene? Surprisingly lively. Your fellow alchemists meet occasionally to drink substances that make philosophy seem inevitable. You trade secrets with the tone of people exchanging recipes for dragons. Have you tried the dew collected only at dawn from iron railings? Asks one. We have no railings, you reply, but I have a bucket and ambition. Papers are read aloud in sentences that begin with, it is known, which means, I would like it to be known. Every meeting ends with a vow to form a society. Every society ends with a disagreement about the seating chart. Danger comes in two flavors, secular and ecclesiastical. Secular danger is the Duke reminding you gently that his patience is not a renewable resource. Ecclesiastical danger is a bishop reminding you that searching for immortality might imply dissatisfaction with the current management. You navigate with compliments. To the Duke, Your Grace, Gold obeys only the noblest hands. I am teaching it manners. To the bishop, my lord, we seek health of the body that men may better praise health of the soul. When flattery fails, you produce liquor, which is ecumenical. Do you ever help the world? Yes, accidentally and often. You refine acids until they can etch metal into maps. You improve dyes so cloth stops sulking. You make better soaps and discover that water is friendlier than previously advertised. You distill spirits that clean wounds and cause stories. You invent crystalline sugar because honey is an employee with boundaries. You pioneer double-walled vessels, safer furnaces, 2 kinds of goggles, fashionable and very fashionable, and the peer review process, also known as let someone else try to explode the same way. One morning, reality stops by for coffee. You wake to a sky the color of pewter and a guard at your door who isn't sure whether he's here to escort you or your possessions. The Duke has been advised by experts that alchemy is fraud. You present your notebooks, your scorch marks, your tiny pile of plausible gold. A council forms, the natural predator of progress. They ask crisp questions. Can you guarantee gold by winter? Can you produce an elixir that cures gout specifically in dukes? Can you explain why last month the tower glowed blue and the hawks fell from the sky? You answer, science cannot guarantee schedules. Gout is powerful and so are dukes. The tower glowed blue because truth flirts with catastrophe. They blink imbureaucratic. Then the treasurer, a man whose soul is a ledger, holds up a small bottle you'd forgotten. A clear spirit that burns so clean even guilt envies it. What is this? He asks. Aqua vitae, you say, the water of life. He sips. His eyebrows ascend. A career changes course. Raise their stipend, he says, and double my caution. You stay. The hawks file a complaint. Love, mostly theoretical. Your robe smells like a late argument and your hands carry the memory of Mercury. Nevertheless, someone notices, the baker whose flour dusts your street like optimism, the widow who brings you violets because your windows don't. You accept kindness with the awkward grace of a man better at formulas than feelings. The cat approves. The cat approves of anyone who shares fish. There comes a season when the experiments tighten, the failures grow articulate, and you sense a shape in the smoke, something like method. You stop asking metals to repent and start asking them to react. You measure more, guess less, label everything that doesn't run. You set up repeats. When they break, you repair the idea instead of the glass. You notice that what you call spirits follow rules even when drunk. You edge, slowly, into chemistry, though you won't hear that word for a century. It feels like swapping a horoscope for a map. One last performance for the Duke. You invite him to the lab. The room has been cleaned to within an inch of truth. On the table, 2 plates, 2 powders, 1 fire. You grind, mix, whisper Latin for ambience, and suddenly the plate blooms with a gold mirror, real gold, formed by a trick of chloride and heat. Not piles, not coins, but a film thin as hope and undeniable as dawn. The Duke gasps the way men do when the future kisses them and runs. Gold? He asks. Gold, you say, and do not add with footnotes. He laughs. He forgives your calendar. He funds your furnace habit for another year. You become, not rich, but solvent. The widow's violets live in a jar by the window. The baker sends bread too hot to be humble. The cat becomes fat in a philosophical way. Students appear, alert, flammable. You teach them the 2 core lessons. 1, don't lick anything. 2, write it down. You add a 3rd. 3, if the lab starts praying, leave. Someday, books will write that alchemists were fools. Other books will write we were fathers of chemistry. The truth is messier and therefore more fun. We were people who could not resist asking matter to explain itself, even if it did so through smoke. We were wrong loudly and often, which is courage's accent. We were also right just enough to keep buying glass. If you're still considering the career, here's your exit interview made into a welcome packet. Dress code, robe advisable, hat optional, eyebrows replaceable. Tools: fire, water, time, and a patience that can balance a coin on its edge. Risks: social, skeptics, political, councils, theological, immortality discourse, structural, ceilings. Rewards: sometimes gold on a plate, sometimes health in a cup, sometimes a good night's sleep because the mixture finally behaved. Key metrics: explosions per discovery, aim for fewer. Cups of spirit per council meeting, aim for more. Number of times the cat saves your life, track modestly. And the mission statement, written where only you and the cat can read it. Take base things seriously. Take noble things lightly. Combine with heat, time, and mercy. Observe what survives. Do you still want the job? Then stoke the furnace. Gather the powders with the attitude of a chef about to embarrass an onion. Draw the symbols that make anxious men blink. Set the alembic like a crown on a bottle. Invite the duke if you must. Invite the baker if you'd like the evening to end kindly. And when the vapors rise and the mirrors bloom and the cat purrs the ancient word for again, remember, you came here for gold and found process. The gold is thin, the process is thick, and against all predictions, you are happy. Now, turn the page of your notebook. Write the date, the weather, the smell of the room. Title: Experiment 1003, Why Matter Laughs. Underline it twice. Light the fire. Try, fail, learn, refine, repeat. One day someone will call this science. For now, it is alchemy, which is the more honest word for loving the world enough to ask it difficult questions with beautiful glass.